Morning news at 2 a.m.
Get that out of here. Yeah.
Good morning, America. I am Tugg Speedman.
And I'm Alpa, Chino.
And this is morning news at 2 a.m.
At 2 a.m.
Recently, American forces bombed the heck out of the supply depot in Vietnam, no less. Wow, those Viet Congs didn't stand a chance.
It's Viet Cong. There's no S. You wouldn't say Chinese's.
Well, as I was saying, we bombed them. I think the Chineses have been giving them support, so hopefully their support starts withering, like the flowers I was going to give my wife on her 30th anniversary.
Little did he know she wanted a divorce. Now let's go to a field report in Vietnam.
And now, back to this news report. Right now, we'll be taking a time travel back to Vietnam.
Welcome to the lovely and not raining right now place called Vietnam. Today, we go to India Company of 3rd Battalion, 9th Marines for a field story. This field story was submitted by a Lance Corporal. He said that his gunnery sergeant emphasized the need for camouflage greatly. They later went out on a combat patrol, and on that combat patrol, they started walking through rice paddies. They got through the jungle and stuff, you know, the normal wilderness hike stuff. Maybe a few contacts with the enemy, but eventually they came upon a tall grass field. That's a tank. Well, wait. But they came across a tall grass field, and in that tall grass
Barret,
field...
more tanks.
Oh, more tanks! Oh, look at those lovely tanks. Perfect! Must be a combat patrol. Look at that lovely convoy. Where were we? Oh, a tall grass field. So they're in the tall grass field. And he looks up and notices that this isn't any tall grass, it's weed. And they're in Vietnam, so it's legal. So, they started filling their helmets, their pants, anything they could hold it with. And once they got back to base, they were just covered in this stuff. Eventually, the platoon sergeant noticed them and said, "Now that's camouflage, boys."
Barret, this isn't a mugshot.
Oh. Well, if this isn't a mugshot, let's talk about today's sponsor. But before we do that, we have a user-submitted review from none other than Moore, Oklahoma. It reads as follows. I think this is Demon P. Hey folks, today we have a lovely sponsor. That sponsor is the Arizona Sweet Tea Company.
Hi, I'm Miss Budget Cuts, and may I introduce you to our Arizona Sweet Tea. It's got like 3 calories. I'm lying. I don't know, it's like water. But this is our limited edition raspberry flavor. That's really good. Buy it here today, folks.
With the Apollo 13 mission came many new technologies that could very well improve life in the future. We were informed that they were able to freeze food on board. According to our source, they used freeze-dried food to reduce the weight of the water and oxygen normally found in food, as well as to not melt and spill any liquids when in zero gravity. I don't know why anyone would possibly need freeze-dried food for everyday life. But I guess some things just can't be explained, alright? Yeah. Similar were wireless headphones. NASA created them to reduce the amount of wires on board. Without any wires, the astronauts would be able to operate hands-free and have more range of motion. The president of a major electronic corporation has stated that we can expect to see them in stores in roughly 1 year. I can see the use of wireless headphones on board for space missions, but I can't ever see these catching on in the real world. Nobody's ever going to use wireless headphones and earbuds. Another advancement from NASA were the shock absorbers, which were used to protect equipment. The concept is that the shock absorbers would be able to absorb the energy when the lander impacts with the lunar surface. Without them, the lander could be jolted at impact and potentially be damaged. Many automobile corporations have announced that they will be integrating new absorbers into upcoming models. I personally denounce the idea. When I drive, I prefer to feel every slight dip and be thrown through the windshield whenever there's a bump. Who wants to be able to drive smoothly? To me, it'll never work, but I guess we all have our own opinions. We have also been informed that newly developed ion engines will be used by NASA to support upcoming space exploration. The benefit of these new engines is that they are much more fuel efficient than previous model. Compared to other engines, ion engines shoot out the propellant gas much faster than the jet of a chemical rocket. Therefore, they deliver roughly 10 times as much thrust per kilogram of propellant used. This is a golf club. This little thing right here, this is called the club face. This is made of aerospace technology, which is the same material that's used for airframes and aircraft engine parts. Because, we just need rocket materials in everyday life. Why not? Many new technologies have been developed to further support future exploration, and hopefully all goes well in the upcoming future. NASA was established on July 29, 1958. Once the National Aeronautics and Space Act was signed, they began to operate on October 1, 1958. The goal of NASA was to combat the Soviet Union's recent advancements in space. The launch of Sputnik led to the U.S. being constantly behind in the space race. Once approved, NASA began to provide research for the problems of flight, both within and outside of the Earth's atmosphere. When NASA was able to put a man on the moon on July 20th, 1969, the U.S. was able to surge ahead and eventually conclude the space race as victorious. John F. Kennedy stated that they would put a man on the moon before the end of the decade. And he was right. But me personally, I would have been able to do it by 1965. But hey, that's just if I was president, alright? With Apollo 13 returning to Earth 1 week prior from today, it is safe to say that America will be the leading superpower in space technology. But according to my buddy Daryl, he went to the moon the day before with only a trash can, a bottle of whiskey, and some kind of unidentified prescription medication. I fully believe that he was telling the truth, because Daryl also says that he never lies. The moral of the story is that you should always believe everything you hear, especially if it's from a homeless man you found outside your office. On a good note, let us hope for future advancements in space technology and prosperity for NASA for years to come. God, I do love sweet iced tea.
And now, back to this news report. We're traveling to 2023.
Kennedy's speech challenged us to go to the moon.
I think if it was said today, we'd be going to Mars.
I think if it was said today, we'd be making colonies on the moon.
I think if it was said today, it would challenge us to delve more into deep space exploration.
I think if it was said today, we would challenge ourselves to go farther than Mars.